But yeah, have you ever had one of those days in the garden where things haven't gone quite right? Like, I could only find one gardening glove today, and all the tools I seem to need are not where I think they should be. I would suspect most of them are at Muddy Puddles, but I'm at home in my garden, so it's not very helpful them being there. But on a day like today, it's so beautiful. I've got a lot of garden tidying done, as you can see. I've got the scraps behind me, but I'm just pottering around today, I think, doing gentle relaxing things. I think if I try to go all guns blazing at things, I think I'm probably just going to have a disaster, to be fair. So what I've decided to do today is pot on my asparagus. I've already done some. I'll take you around to the shed to see in a little bit. But I have this push plate that fits my trays, which makes life easier because you push it down and the little soil blocks get pushed up. But they're being really crumbly today, and so when I pick them up they tend to fall apart, so I'm having to be a bit careful about how I do it. So I'm loosely filling my pot and making a nice big divot with my thumb in the top, and then I'm attempting to get my asparagus. Now the thing about asparagus, particularly if it's this stage, you kind of have to tease the separate asparagus plants apart because they do tangle and hold on each other, and you don't want to damage any of those really delicate little stems. If you snap those or strip too many of those little bits off, the plant will die. So let's see if I can get this one because I know it's free. But again, as you pick it up, the soil block seems to crumble on me. So I'm very carefully and delicately picking it up with as much soil as I can get. You can see the roots, and popping it into the pot like that and gently firming it in. And I don't know if it's the compost because I bought a different one last year, or just me, I don't know. I'll water those in it. I'm standing them in a tray. I will give them a tiny bit of top water, but other than the first water I'll give them on the top now, from now on they'll be watered at the bottom because I want their roots to draw down through that compost and find the nutrients in it and find the water and get a nice strong root base. But is this one of those days where lots of little bits are just not going quite my way? You know, the asparagus are fiddly to pot on anyway and a bit tangly, and I can't find some of the tools, including a glove. My soil blocks don't really want to hold together to help me pot on, and they do tend to just, as I say, tangle because they're got such fine little leaves on them, ferny leaves that just. Let me go pick up another one. And again, I get as much of the soil as I can, but a lot of it just crumbles. It certainly doesn't hold its shape. Talking about compost, I have today, I'm using the very last of the compost I had, and I have started, I've just bought this morning some Levingtons. I will show you that. So at the field, at Muddy Puddles, I have a big flatbed truck turn up and dump tons of compost. That's what I need for there. But here, all I really do for the farm is seed starting, so I need much less. And what I found today, I'll turn the camera around so you can see, is Levingtons multi-purpose. It's peat free, and it comes with 6 weeks. Sorry, so you can actually see it. 6 weeks of feed in it for the plants, which should keep you going for 6 weeks. I'm hoping that my soil, when I start planting in earnest, I want my soil blocks to stay together to make the planting on a bit easier. So I'm hoping that this will hold together a bit better than the compost I used last year. But it was in Morrison's and I had a special offer of 3 40-litre bags for £12, which I thought was quite good. So if you have a Morrison's near you and you're interested, that might be a place to go and get compost. I'm always on the lookout. If I have friends that go out and buy compost. I'm like, oh, how much was it? Which one did you buy? What do they have in stock? So it's just a little FYI. I don't think they'll last terribly long because they sell great quantities there. But anyway, if it's helpful to anybody. So I've decided this afternoon I'm going to very slowly, it's almost like pricking out. The compost blocks aren't holding as they should, so it's almost like delicately pricking out new seedlings rather than potting on modules. But hey ho, that's what I'm doing. But what I'll do, I'm going to have a little break because it's quite frustrating. I'll take you for a little walk around the garden. There we go. Couldn't work the camera out, but there we go. Now earlier today it was lovely. I'll see if I can find some photos of you. I found a toad in a watering can, which we hooked out because obviously a watering can isn't where it wants to live, and it's somewhere in the lovely pond. And you see I've cut back all the dead bits, and the green shoots of recovery are starting up again. This bit of the garden looked really horrendous last time I toured it, so I'm glad to see some of the bits and pieces coming back. Now the one thing that stayed green all year round, all through the winter, and has stayed completely green is my geranium, which, you know, not frost hardy, but it's the only thing that stay green all year round. I've got my irises popping up, and my Emily Mackenzie just making its way up through. There are some of the bulrushes starting to come up, and some of the pond grasses there. I've got some lucifer coming up there, and I had two new additions. It's quite tricky to see from here. One was the japonica spider, and behind that is a small miniature rhododendron, which is supposed to only grow to about 1 metre, so we'll see. Just tidying the garden up a little bit and putting some things in to renew. Here in the depths of the water you can see the water lilies are beginning to spring into life. They're very small at the moment, but they will be beautiful this summer, and some of the other pond plants in there. This is the second pond I constructed really simply from some old decking, a combination of old decking, some kickboards, gravel boards from the bottom of fencing panels that I had floating around spares from when I fenced the garden, and a bit of pond liner, and they're all just screwed together, and it makes a lovely above ground pool extra. And I got some more bulrush reeds growing up in the corner here. I just ran out of space in the main pond, and usually you root out and give to neighbours and friends the spare bits that you don't want, and compost the rest. But thinking about putting a wildlife pond in at Muddy Puddles, I think, you know, this is a good idea. It'll give me extra plants to go put in a pond down there, a wildlife pond down there. This is my salvia hot lips, which is starting to get little green shoots on again. And this was an absolute disaster when it turned completely black in the last frost we had. I cut it back hard, as you can see, and what has popped up are some new shoots. So I'm really hopeful that there's another one over here, 3 new shoots. So I'm really hopeful that that will spring back into action. I'm going to get leaves again on my willow, which is nice. And yes, so this is my new rhododendron I just popped in. And again, it's supposed to grow to about 1 metre high. It's meant to take partial shade. I do need to come and cut a few things back that got unruly at the back. Mostly the bamboo cane. And that monster is a bay tree, which is meant to get to 2 metres tall, but that one's at least 4. So I don't know. Somebody didn't tell it the rules in the rule book. Somebody didn't tell it its natural limits, and it decided to exceed them. Yeah, and I really like the japonica spider. It's got some nice variegation on the leaves. I think that'll be a nice little asset. This used to be, on the lawn, we used to have a path that ran through here to the old arbour, which is gradually collapsing, and we decided to fence off from the lawn so that the dogs wouldn't dig up my plants as much. And it's just taking a while to sort out filling in this gap, but it's getting there. It's getting there. I think the japonica and the rhododendron will do a nice job. And as you can see, I am a great believer in chop and drop, and there is so much material on the ground. It looks a bit messy this time of year, but once everything grows up you can't see it, and it actually holds the moisture in, so the moisture in the soil doesn't evaporate through these are all the old reeds. And when I come to do this again next spring, this all will have rotted down and it will all be soil. These are bits and pieces there, that's cuttings from the hebe that has grown up, and they'll all be rotted down completely and disappeared, and I'll put a new layer down, and it will keep the fertility in the soil. I don't really put anything in there apart from the chop and drop, the weeds I pull up and just lay on the top, and they dry out and die off. And then the brush that I cut back in the spring. I haven't seen any signs of buds. Well, I have got buds on my wisteria, but I haven't seen any leafing yet. It's a bit early, but it will come. For some reason, I have a weird thing. I don't know what that is. What do you think that is? It's a bit of rubble. Let me see what you find in my garden. I suspect that fell off the roof when they were doing the chimney. Yeah, wedged in there. But this wisteria is a white wisteria. It's lovely when it flowers, and it gets filled with masses of birds. They love it. They feed. I've put all the bird feeders, but they are coming down. They are going to get good scrub because they've gone a bit over the winter. In the winter, they don't like to feed here. They only like it when there's lots of cover, and they hide among the bamboo and the willow, and they flit across and they hide in the wisteria and feed from there. It's the only place in the garden that they do feed. And they do bathe in the shallow edges of the wildlife ponds. So we've made it so it's got a muddy bank, little muddy bank that peters to nothing, so they can climb in and out easily. Oh, look, our friend the toad is back. Can you see? That's one that I found in a watering can earlier. And he was very happy. I popped him on the edge of the pond and he jumped right in. Yeah, I don't know if it's a boy or a girl, but it's definitely a toad because it's all warty. I know, because I got up close and personal. There we go. Right. Onto this part of the garden. Now this was a complete mess when I showed you last time, and it still looks a bit messy. It looks like there are lots of little weeds coming up, but if I come down and show you, I'm not sure. This looks like a self-seeded flower, but this is all forget-me-nots. These are a type of iris, and I forget which one. I've got gladiola coming out the back, and a lot of these will turn out to be weeds, but a lot of them will turn out to be self-seeded plants that are popping up after this year. There's another little one there, and I'm not sure whether it's a weed or a plant yet. Got lots and lots. It just looks like clumps of grass, but it's very fine, very small bulbs, so hopefully they'll flower this year. My seed have made it. So did my yarrow or achillea, depending on which name it goes by, which name you know it by. There's another plant that survived, and I can't remember its name. Another little plant back there, which name will come to me. Happens with age. And I have got loads and loads of, I keep getting my shadow in the picture, loads and loads and loads of foxgloves, which I love, and that's brilliant because the bumblebees love them. We get so many bumblebees. And these little ones are little self-seeded achillea. They look quite like a similar weed I get, but I've gone through and I think most of what's left, and it's little. This is the weed I'm talking about. This awful thing pops up. It's not terribly ugly, but it smothers, it grows, and it spreads its roots on the ground. It pops up all over the place. But when it's very tiny, you can muddle up the Achillea leaf and that leaf. When that's much smaller, it's much more similar. I haven't got any little ones of those, so I've pulled them all out, but those are little Achillea, I believe. And again, loads and loads of tiny seeds. They may well turn out to be weeds, but I leave all my seed heads and shake them out on the ground, so some of them will turn out to be plants and some of them will turn out to be weeds. And yeah, so I've got quite a few things. Oh, there's a lovely sign. Every gardener's heart sings when they sees that. I've got a little ladybug there. I like it when you get green fly early in the year because the ladybugs come in. And once they've made themselves at home, they stay all summer long. So although you suffer right on early in the year, as the year goes on, you feel quite smug because the ladybirds are munching away on them, and you have far fewer problems with the nasty old green fly and aphids. And again, it looks like this scrappy grass at the moment because there aren't any flowers, but these are all little bulbs that have grown up here and here. It just looks like the grass is overtaken, but it hasn't. They are all bulbs. And lots more. These foxgloves will flower this year. These are last year's seedlings that I left in. Not all of them make it. Another big clump of lucifer there. And I bet you're all jealous of this wonderful specimen. Look, I have got an amazing dandelion in here. Really strong roots. I'm going to come back with a fork later because those roots, obviously at some point, I've dug it out and I haven't got all the root because it feels like a small root. When you go down, it gets thicker at the bottom. So I've obviously not dug that up properly at some point. So I'm going to come back with a fork and get that out. Don't really want that spreading. The other thing I have a lot of is buttercups that spread, wandering, roaming buttercups. I've pulled a lot out, and usually I let it go so far in the bed. Again, use chop and drop. So I trim this, but it's just drop it. Yeah, let it ramble, and then when enough is enough, I take it all up and then get rid of it. But I let it stay in the lawn. Okay. See, I just bought a nice cup of tea. So it's not one of those days where absolutely everything goes wrong. So this is my shed. It's just a regular old shed, my blue shed, and I have just changed the roof because the roof needed refelting, and I've just put on Perspex roof because it's a brilliant place to grow my tomatoes, and I don't have space enough here for a greenhouse and a shed, so it's kind of multi-purpose. I have so much storage under there, so much junk under there, and then I have the seed shelf, and so those are the asparagus I've done already, poodling in my garden. I've got a lot of space for some more, and these are pretty much the only seeds I just tried, because there's a whole packet of seeds went in each box, and some of them have worked out really pants, some of them have worked out quite well. The Morning Glory is lovely, that's done really well. Even the sweet peas, not many sweet peas came up. What's in there? Zinnia in there, and Gaillardia in that one. These zinnia have done better. If I can, there, those zinnia have done better. But yeah, they were just leftover seeds, and I thought I'd try them. And these trays have been brilliant. I just saved the grape trays because they fit so well into the seed trays. These are my grow bag trays, and they fit in there beautifully, 2 across, and they also fit the other 350ml pots really well, 4 in a row, quite neatly, so I'm quite pleased about that. But they will all be moved out, and I will have my bush variety tomatoes there that all trail down the front, which will be nice. And I will clean out, this is last year's growing material, so they will all come out and get cleared out, and my my cordons will go up there, and on this side I will clear out the few tools that I have there, and my cucumbers will grow up that side and right across the roof. Okay, what else have I got in the garden? This is my hedgehog habitat, so I leave this. I just put anything sticky that's a bit to go in the compost in there. End of the year, I put a load of grass clippings and turf and things on top of there, which rots down through the year. But it leaves the underside a bit drier. It's an old chicken coop that's Ruth gave out. And then we get hedgehogs that root all around in there and hibernate in there sometimes. So it's a nice idea, that. But I've a plant I threw in there that I thought was dead, and as you can see, it wasn't. It's come back to life, so maybe that'll get dug out at some point, but somewhere useful. My rhubarb has popped up beautifully. I've got some lovely rhubarb. My Welsh onions have started getting flower heads on, so they will flower and put new little bulbils down soon, which will be nice. Something's been in there digging, I think, because those shouldn't really be laying down flat. I'm thinking that maybe a cat's been in there, so time to maybe put the net back over the hoops. Another rhubarb. Every time I dig the rhubarb out and move it, I seem to just leave a little bit behind, and it just keeps growing. I seem to be good at rhubarb, like so good. I can't get rid of it. Last year, this one grew so tall, it grew taller than the fence. Its leaves were poking up over the top of the alleyway, which was quite amusing to the neighbours. I don't think they've ever seen 6-foot rhubarb before. And this is going to be gorgeous very, very soon. So, first of all, this is my fig in a pot, which is just coming into bud, which will look lovely with those fig leaves. But this is my plum tree. And I've got the first flowers come up on there, which are lovely. And on my apple tree, I've just had the little the leaves open, with the flower heads all tucked up tight inside, so they will there, they're going to open up soon. That's going to be beautiful. So that's where we are so far. I have an absolute nightmare mess over here. These are all the posts that I had in the flower border that I'm redoing down the side of the house under the chimney, and they were all the stakes, and they were all tied up to make like a lovely network for the plants to have structure, so they didn't flop over, and I had to take them all out because the scaffolding went up there. And that was a big messy pile. I've still got more holly and juniper that needs to go in at the farm. All of the older trees have been potted on, ready to go back down to the farm. Oh, there's a tray there filled up with water. We've had a lot of rain. It's really important to remember to empty these trays. I had in my head that I had put them in crates like this so that this wouldn't happen. But I didn't, so I must make it a thing to come and do that every time it rains so they don't drown. Alders are really good at tolerating wet ground, but anyway, so we've got some oak trees and some sycamore trees that this is a sycamore that we planted. It's coming into bud. There's an oak tree who's grown. So we've got 2 sycamore and 5 oak we've grown. We've got last year's asparagus, which hasn't done a lot yet, but I did spot one. I'll find it in a minute. There we go, there's the one that has some baby asparagus is starting to shoot up again. Well, I can't see if I can find it. Baby asparagus is just in there. Oh, there's lots of weeds you can see. Oh, that's because I'm focusing on the wrong one, aren't I? There. Some baby asparagus is popping up. Let's take the weeds out. Oh, yeah, just in there. There. Baby asparagus is just coming up. So those ones will go in the ground in the field. This one has a lot of weeds. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to manage those. But that's got baby asparagus is popping up too. So, oh, another one there. Take the weeds out of that. Managing the weeds is going to be a thing with these asparagus. This was new compost, so that's got weeds. Imagine what the flower bed's going to, the asparagus bed's going to be like. Okay, and so there's a lot of things that died over the winter. There's some, oh look, a killia there that made it. There's a poor hebe cutting that was doing really well that hasn't made it. There are lots of things that are still dormant. I've got blueberries there that will go in. I've got some Szechuan and lemon peppers that have made it. I've got, this is called a blue sausage tree. That's going in. And this one is a mulberry. And that's going in, a mulberry tree. So I've got lots of things waiting to go in. Muddy Puddles. I've got a lot of mess in my garden too. So anyway, that's the tour. Oh look, we just got some buds coming here. Look, on the wisteria. You can just see them, just starting. Now, my shooting is not very good because the sun is glaring on my screen. I can't actually see what I'm recording some of the time. There we go. So lots of projects to get on with. Lots of positive things going on in the garden. And yeah. So I'm just going to go back and poodle and finish potting on my asparagus. Okay, bye for now. Honestly, look at the type of help I've got. Look. This is what I'm working with. I blink for a minute and my helper is tearing up my pots. What are you doing, Dougie? What are you doing? Where you go? What are you doing? What are you doing? What's this? What's this? What's this? What are you doing? Are you being a cheeky boy? Oh, and you want to join in too. It's not very helpful, is it? Come here. Let me have that because it's plastic. We don't want you getting that. We don't want you eating that, darling. Come on. See? With help like that. Who needs hindrance?